Truck dealerships are not just having a slow month, something deeper is happening. Trucks that used to sell fast are now sitting longer. Buyers are walking away from deals, finance offices are getting quieter, and sales managers are realizing that the market no longer forgives bad pricing. The scary part is that many of these trucks are not bad trucks at all. Some are powerful, respected, comfortable, and perfectly capable of working every day. But when freight gets tighter, money gets more expensive, and repair risk starts looking dangerous, even a good truck can become hard to move. That is where the panic begins. Because dealers are not only trying to sell trucks anymore, they are trying to convince buyers that the numbers still make sense. And right now, a lot of buyers are not convinced. Subscribe to Smart Buy Motors, because this is where we look past the polished lot photos and break down what is really happening in the truck market before everyone else catches on. Starting the haul is the 2025 Volvo VNL 64T300 with the 132-inch ARI Legacy Sleeper. This thing looks less like a regular tractor and more like a small apartment that learned how to pull a trailer. Big custom sleeper, modern cab, premium presence, and the kind of setup that makes long-haul life look comfortable. But that is exactly why it fits the panic. A truck like this sells easily when buyers are optimistic. It is emotional, impressive, and easy to justify when freight is strong. But in a tighter market, that giant sleeper becomes a giant question. A buyer has to think about the payment, the weight, the insurance, the parking, the maintenance, and whether that much comfort actually produces more profit. For the right operator, this Volvo is fantastic. For the wrong one, it is a financial commitment with a bed in the back. Fleets usually do not need it. Local haulers do not want it. New owner-operators may love it, but the bank may not. And experienced drivers will admire it. Then ask the painful question, how many loads before this thing pays for itself? The truck still looks valuable, but the buyer now wants math, not fantasy. Premium sleepers can still sell, but only when the numbers stop pretending the market is still on fire. Rolling into the next spot is the 2025 Kenworth T680 with the 120-inch ARI Legacy Sleeper. The T680 already has a strong reputation as a modern highway truck. It is comfortable, aerodynamic, professional, and tied to a brand that still carries weight with owner-operators. Add a big custom sleeper, and suddenly it becomes more than a tractor. It becomes a lifestyle rig. That can be powerful, but it can also make the truck harder to move when buyers become cautious. A regular T680 is easy to understand. A custom sleeper T680 asks for a more specific buyer. Someone who lives on the road, wants serious space, and can justify the extra cost. That is not a huge crowd when rates are unpredictable and financing feels heavy. Dealers may see a premium Kenworth and expect premium money. Buyers see the same truck and start calculating risk. They think about emission systems, warranty coverage, resale, downtime, and whether the sleeper is an asset or just expensive comfort. The brand helps, but it does not erase the payment. This Kenworth is not difficult because it lacks quality. It is difficult because it sits between dream and discipline. The dealer wants to sell the dream. The buyer wants proof the dream will not become a monthly nightmare. Climbing higher is the Peterbilt 579 Ultraloft. The panic gets more interesting here because the 579 is not some strange truck nobody understands. It is a serious modern long-haul machine, and the Ultraloft gives it the space and livability drivers actually care about. The Peterbilt badge still has power, the cab is comfortable, and the truck makes sense for a lot of highway work. But good trucks can still be hard to sell when buyers have leverage. A few years ago, a clean modern Pete could pull people in almost automatically. Now the conversation is sharper. Buyers ask about after-treatment history, financing terms, mileage, maintenance, warranty, and whether the price is really different from 10 other trucks nearby. That is the issue with the 579. It is desirable, but not rare enough to escape comparison. Buyers can cross-shop it against Cascadias, T680s, Volvos, Internationals, and older classics. Some will pay extra for the red oval. Others will say, I can get enough truck for less money. Dealers hate that sentence because it turns prestige into negotiation pressure. The Ultraloft is comfortable, but comfort alone does not close a deal when the buyer is worried about cost per mile. When a polished Peterbilt sits too long, the problem is usually not attention. It is confidence. The buyers are looking. They are just not willing to overpay like they used to. Now we get into the Mack Anthem. The Anthem has personality. And that matters in a world full of smooth aero trucks that can start to look like appliances. It has a bold face, a tough image, and a badge connected to real work. Mack still means something to drivers who respect trucks with attitude. But personality does not automatically make a sale, especially when the buyer is nervous. The Anthem can be a more selective truck. Some buyers love Mack, others respect Mack, then walk toward a Freightliner, Kenworth, Peterbilt, or Volvo because the network, resale, and familiarity feel safer. That is not always fair to the truck. But the used market is driven by perception as much as reality. Dealers can have a sharp Anthem on the lot and still need to answer harder questions. Who services it nearby? How easy are parts in my area? How will it trade later? Does the spec match my lanes? Can I get the same job done for less money with something more common? The Anthem is not weak, it is specific, and specific trucks usually need the right buyer or the right discount. The dealer sees a distinctive truck, the buyer sees a business decision. If the price does not respect that, the Anthem keeps staring across the lot like it is ready to work, while the sales manager gets more uncomfortable. Rolling deeper into the lot is the Freightliner Cascadia. This one might be the clearest warning sign, because the Cascadia is everywhere. That is normally its strength. Huge parts support, huge service familiarity, strong fleet presence, and a practical reputation for doing the job without needing a dramatic introduction. But when the market cools, being everywhere becomes a problem for dealers. A buyer does not have to fall in love with one Cascadia. He can compare 20. Mileage, maintenance, engine history, transmission, tires, after-treatment condition, warranty, price, everything is easy to shop against. That kills the salesman's favorite trick, urgency. The buyer knows there will be another one. This truck also attracts practical buyers, and practical buyers are hard to pressure. They are thinking about cost per mile, not romance. That means a Cascadia has to be priced correctly, or it turns invisible among all the other Cascadias. Dealers holding rows of similar units have a real problem. Discount too early and they lose margin. Wait too long and the truck gets stale, the market moves, and buyers start wondering why it has not sold. The Cascadia is not here because it is bad. It is here because common inventory exposes weak pricing faster than almost anything else. If a dealer wants top money for an average unit, buyers can prove it is average in 5 minutes. Next up is the International LT. This truck sits right in the middle of the modern used truck battlefield. It is built for highway work, it can be comfortable, and many drivers have put serious miles behind the wheel of one. But International has a complicated reputation with some buyers, and reputation affects price whether dealers like it or not. A clean LT can be a smart buy if the spec is right, the maintenance history is solid, and the price reflects the market. But buyers often bring old stories into the conversation. They remember certain International headaches, emissions concerns, repair complaints, or comments from other drivers. Even if the specific truck in front of them is decent, doubt slows the sale. That is brutal for dealerships, because doubt becomes a discount. The LT often has to win with value rather than pure prestige. That can make it rational for the buyer, but it means the dealer cannot price it like a Peterbilt and expect nobody to notice. The buyer wants transparency. Service history matters, warranty matters, the exact drivetrain matters, the condition of the emission system matters. And if the salesman tries to dance around those questions, the buyer can go look at another truck down the road. The LT can sell, but it has to make financial sense immediately. Now we are getting into the Volvo VNL 670. This older Volvo tells a completely different story from the giant custom sleeper trucks. It is not trying to be the flashiest machine in the yard. It is selling something more dangerous to overpriced inventory. Common sense. The VNL 670 has a long-haul comfort reputation that still matters. Volvo has long cared about driver ergonomics, visibility, and livability, and once a driver deals with enough weather, traffic, docks, and truck stop nights, comfort stops being a luxury. It becomes part of survival. But the real reason this Volvo belongs here is that older, reasonably priced trucks like this can make newer trucks harder to sell. A buyer looking at a huge payment may see a clean VNL 670 and think, that is enough truck for the job. Not the newest, not the flashiest, maybe not the truck that wins the parking lot beauty contest, but enough. And enough can be powerful when the market gets tight. Lower purchase price gives the owner more room for repairs, tires, maintenance, and slow weeks. A neglected one can still punish you. but a well-bought one can feel less financially suffocating than a newer truck with a payment that never sleeps. Dealers holding expensive late-model inventory do not like that comparison. Once buyers start asking what they truly need, inflated inventory starts losing its magic. Pulling into the next lane is the Kenworth T660. This truck has a dangerous balance for dealerships, because it still feels like a real Kenworth, without always carrying the same financial punch as newer premium models. It is more aerodynamic than a classic long hood, but it keeps enough identity to avoid feeling like a plain fleet appliance. For a buyer who wants brand pride, usable comfort, and a truck with some personality, the T660 can make a lot of sense. That puts pressure on newer inventory. If a driver can get a respectable Kenworth, keep the payment lower, and still feel good climbing into it, why stretch for a truck that could trap him financially? Of course, condition is everything. A T660 is old enough that the salesman's opinion means almost nothing. Buyers want to know the engine history, transmission, clutch, suspension, tires, frame, sleeper condition, maintenance records, and whether it was loved or simply used until the next problem appeared. If the truck has needs, it must be priced like it has needs. If it has miles, the price has to respect those miles. Nostalgia cannot cover worn parts. But when a T660 is clean and priced honestly, it becomes one of those trucks that makes buyers slow down and rethink the whole lot. It offers credibility without demanding the newest truck payment. In a nervous market, it is a reality check with a grill. Next in the countdown is the International 9400i. This is where old-school trust starts causing real trouble for modern pricing. The 9400i is not trying to impress anyone with luxury branding or futuristic styling. It looks like a work truck because that is what it is. For many drivers, that is the appeal. Depending on the year and spec, these trucks can feel mechanical, honest, and easier to understand than newer machines. Not every example is worth buying, and nobody should pretend old iron is magic. Rust, wiring, worn interiors, bad maintenance, and tired drivetrains can turn a cheap truck into an expensive mistake. But the psychology is different. A certain kind of owner-operator looks at a 9400i and sees control. He sees something mechanics. You know, something that can be inspected without a sales brochure, and something that may not require a terrifying monthly payment. That mindset is poison for dealers, trying to move overpriced late-model trucks. The 9400i also has blue-collar credibility. It does not look delicate. It does not look like it belongs in a corporate slideshow. It looks like it has done hard work and is willing to do more. When a driver walks past something shiny to ask about the older International, the dealership knows what is happening. The buyer is not chasing the newest thing. He is chasing confidence. And the truck that brings this whole problem into focus is the Freightliner Classic XL FLD 132. This truck explains the emotional side of the Panic. It is not modern, not subtle, and not the perfect answer for every business. A Classic XL is not the obvious choice for someone who cares only about fuel economy spreadsheets. But it has presence, and presence still sells. Long hood, classic stance, road character, and the kind of personality newer trucks often struggle to imitate. A clean Classic XL can pull attention away from a newer truck that technically makes more sense. That is a headache for dealers, because emotion is supposed to help them sell expensive inventory, not drag buyers toward older machines. A buyer may arrive thinking he wants a newer aero tractor, then see this Freightliner and start picturing the hood, the sound, the road feel, and the pride of owning something with character. That does not mean every Classic XL is smart money. A bad one can become a money pit fast. But a good one, bought correctly, can feel like a working truck with soul. Many buyers are tired of feeling like modern trucks are financial traps. They know older trucks need maintenance, but they also believe older trucks can be understood, repaired, and kept alive by people who know what they are doing. The Classic XL proves that age is not always the enemy. Sometimes the enemy is an inflated price on a truck nobody emotionally cares about. That is why truck dealerships are panicking. They are not just fighting slow sales, they are fighting smarter buyers, tighter money, tougher financing, older trucks with stronger reputations, and a market that finally remembered how to say no. The good trucks will still sell. They always do. But the lazy pricing, vague history, and someone will buy it attitude are getting punished. Subscribe to Smart Buy Motors, because the next truck sitting too long on a dealer lot might be the clearest signal of where this market is heading next.